Our physical forms are temporary. In this material nature, one who is born is bound to die. I was searching for liberation.
কি জানি কি বলে তোমার ধামেতে
When you find something very precious, you want to share it with those who you love.
Every time I would speak to him, he'd be in a different country.
Everyone that he met, they never forgot him.
A warmth of the heart that just really kind of flowed from him.
Bhakti means the offering of the heart to the divine beloved and also to the divine in the hearts of all beings.
How can I serve you? That was his mood.
The melodious voice was a healing balm.
He was human art in motion.
কি জানি কি বলে তোমার ধামেতে হইনু শরণাগত
I come from India. My grandfather was a Vaishnava, but my father did not really follow the tradition. He was into filmmaking. He was progressive minded. Those days, the cultured Indians were very much westernized, and my father also was a product of that culture. I grew up with a very typical materialistic westernized culture where we grew up with the idea that the West is the best. I went to Germany to study, but I kind of dropped out. And there actually I developed my appreciation for Indian culture, and I came back to India.
আমার জীবন সদা পাপেরত নাহিকো পুণ্যের লেশ
I was searching for a guru because I was aware of the fact that in order to progress in spiritual life, you need a guru, you need a spiritual master who would guide you. But I was totally disappointed, completely disillusioned, because I couldn't find a single person who I could completely trust and offer myself to. After about 1 year of search, that I decided that I'm not going to search anymore. If I do have a spiritual master, then let him come and pick me up.
সংসার দাওয়া নললি ঢালোকা প্রাণায় কারুণ্য ঘনা ঘনাতাম.
From the very first page, I recognized that this is what I was looking for. From that book, I got a very clear understanding of who God is and what liberation actually meant. Prabhupada very boldly declared that if you want to know about God, you can come to me. I can tell you what his name is, what he looks like, what he does, where he lives, and I can give you all information about him. In such clear way, Srila Prabhupada established the fact that God is a person. I knew Krishna from my childhood, but never ever it came with such clarity that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that is what left a very, very deep impression in my mind. Prabhupada told me, you translate my books into Bengali. And as I started to translate, he started to train me, teach me, correct me. Prabhupada was very particular about the Bengali translation. He used to very meticulously go through what I used to translate. And that opened up the gate of my good fortune, because I had the excuse of going to Srila Prabhupada anytime I wanted. So those days, to get near to Srila Prabhupada was practically impossible. It's understandable. Prabhupada had about 10,000 followers, and everybody wanted to be with him.
The fact that he was a person just of Indian origin in those period of time. Prabhupada had left India, gone to the West, was attracting hundreds and literally thousands of followers, brought the movement back to India, and to have a young man who was so intelligent, so aware of the culture, who could speak Bengali, to come and join this team of spreading Krishna Bhakti was a big, big asset.
And then soon after that, Prabhupada gave me a stack of Bengali letters to reply. Then he gave me a stack of Hindi letters to reply. And then he appointed me as the Secretary for Indian Affairs. And then he allowed me to move into the room next to his.
I think in a deeper sense, from a spiritual perspective, Prabhupada clearly could understand this is not an ordinary soul. He's a very advanced person. Even when he first came, his loyalty, his devotion, his understanding of the tradition, his love for Krishna, his desire to make a difference in the world, those were very exceptional qualities.
He taught me how to cook, and I used to cook for him. During Prabhupada's last 1 year, I was with him practically all the time.
Bande Guru Shri Charanarvindam.
After Srila Prabhupada left the planet, I continued to translate. Then in 1987, I got more involved in management. Whatever is needed, we try to do that. Our business is simply to please Srila Prabhupada, please Krishna, and push this movement forward for the benefit of this world.
Bhakti Maharaj and I, we were both members of the governing body commission, so we were together there for about 20 years, serving on this highest leadership group of ISKCON. Bhakti Swami was a person who, maybe more than anybody else I know, wanted more than anything else to keep Srila Prabhupada's legacy and Prabhupada's contributions front and center.
Prabhupada's biggest concern before leaving the planet was that we maintain the institution that he gave us.
Bhakti Swami, his leadership style was, let's stop and think about what would Prabhupada want, and can we please cooperate together? That was his mantra. Okay, there's differences, there's difference of opinions, some of them sometimes are strongly felt because we're different people and we're dealing with a global society and community. And Maharaj always had the same point in any situation I can remember, which was, okay, there may be some differences here, but they're not that serious. Let's keep in perspective what brings us together, what the goals, the beautiful, positive goals of this society are, the wonderful person who's our founder, who's a teacher of all of us, Srila Prabhupada. Let's keep him in the center, and whatever problems are there, we're going to get through them.
Ujjain is one of the 7 holiest places. It's one of the oldest cities of India. I never really thought of building a temple myself. But then at one point, the Chief Minister of Madhya Pradesh sent an invitation to us, asking us to do something. My feeling was, my spiritual master built 108 temples all over the world in 10 years' time. So why can't I build at least one temple within 1 year's time? And by Krishna's arrangement, it happened. It took me exactly 9 months and 20 days to build a temple. When Prabhupada started the movement, he made it a point that whoever would come to ISKCON temple, they would get prasad. It is not food, it is Krishna's mercy. Then when he was in Mayapur, he gave us a very clear instruction that no one within 10 miles radius, no one should go hungry. So, when we got this opportunity of developing this program, distributing Krishna Prasad to the school children, I just, immediately got involved in that. I started off by feeding 25,000 children in that area. And the big challenge there was actually, there we had to serve chapati. And each child gets 3 chapatis. So that means every day I had to make 75,000 chapatis. Fortunately, we could get a machine that makes 10,000 chapatis per hour. And that is how we could actually meet the demand. The hunger in India has been alleviated to a great extent due to our Annamrita project. Krishna has given everything in abundance. It is only man's greed that is causing the scarcity.
He spent huge amounts of his life flying around the world. Like every time I would speak to him, he'd be in a different country.
D-Land is about 118 acres land. Guru Maharaj bought this to set up as a cow sanctuary. In addition to that, Guru Maharaj wanted to show a Vedic lifestyle through Ayurveda, through vegetarian food or prasadam, and the culture from Vedas through singing and dancing. So last few years, Guru Maharaj got involved a lot of devotees to make it operational. We had few retreats here, and then there was a full-fledged kitchen. During the COVID also they continued prasadam distribution, but that time it was free distribution to the first responders and hospitals and nurses, and everybody appreciated a lot.
Bhakti Swami used to do preaching in lots of different areas, and one of those was corporate preaching. And you could see he was transforming people. Like you would watch them, and they're like this. They're like, he's incredibly intelligent, and he understands how human nature works and how humans interact with each other, which is an important part of business. But he also understands how the world works. And I come from a trading background, and one of the most important skills in trading is this idea of being equipoised or unemotional in times of stress. So when you're losing money or you're making bad decisions and things are going against you, how do you act in that situation? Being equipoised means you do the right thing at the right time. And he was very equipoised. He was a shining example of that. He had complete control over his senses in that way. Being in a very money-driven environment with spiritual life, it can seem completely at odds with each other. You would think they're at loggerheads, and actually Bhakti Chura Swami is the one that helped me unpack all of it and make sense of it all. But the whole point he would emphasize is it's not really what you're doing, it's why are you doing it and who are you doing it for. And he's very expert in understanding people's natures and directing them in the way that is best for them. So he absolutely did that for me. He doesn't care who you are, if you're a big person or a small person, if you're from any background, anyhow. He just cared about you and how can he help you, how can he serve you, particularly in how can he help you develop spiritually. So he would show as much care and attention to an average person in the audience as he would to the CEO of HSBC. And he met a whole spectrum of people, and he really helped all of them.
What is the meaning of the word Sharanagati? Surrender. Surrender is a process.
Sharanagati is a Sanskrit word, which also easily transfers to the Bengali, and typically is understood as surrender. Now, I don't particularly like the word surrender because it sounds like something that is against one's will. But in bhakti, it is the natural flow of the heart toward the divine in a full sense.
The first consideration is that we have to become humble.
Bhakti Chura Maharaj was the kind of person that had so many warm and endearing qualities. He was just very, very friendly. Although he was a very senior and highly respected member of the ISKCON, the Hare Krishna movement, still he didn't carry anything along with him that would be kind of a wall of separation. That wasn't there at all. There was never any sense of hierarchy with him.
Hridayam madhuram gamanam madhuram madhuradhipate rakhilam madhuram.
The real joy comes from our connection with Krishna. Because Krishna is a reservoir of pleasure. Krishna is Anandamaya. He is the source of all joy. So the best way to derive joy is just by being connected to that, source of joy.
He was always happy to be with and to meet and to greet everybody. It's just a warmth of the heart that just really kind of flowed from him.
We cannot really directly communicate with Krishna. We do not really know what is pleasing him or not. What enables us to please Krishna or see whether Krishna is happy or not is by seeing how his devotees are reciprocating. One of the things that I like to do the most is by serving the devotees, taking care of the devotees.
He was so gracious to participate in the United Nations forums, and he became connected to individuals and organizations, imparting wisdom and knowledge coming from the Bhakti tradition. His message was so clear. Love brings people together, and without it, there is no peace. Everyone he met was really touched by him, and he developed lots of friends.
In 97 January, we did the first international conference on values for a better world with Bhaktivedanta Institute, and it was actually guided by Bhakti Charu Swami himself. We went on to create various projects to empower people. After so many years, in 2016, we decided that we will institute a special award for Bhakti Charu Swami, who has spent a lifetime spreading values and spirituality among people, which actually promotes peace.
The idea to present the award, which was the Global Ambassador of Peace, coincided with the 20th anniversary of Institute of International Social Developments. After the ceremony, we had a launching of his book, The Ocean of Mercy.
Bhakti Charu Swami decided he would write his memoirs. And the first person he called about it was myself. I have known Bhakti Charu Swami for several decades. He asked me my advice on how to write the book. From the preface of Bhakti Charu Swami's book, I wrote, "Undeniably, it is love that is the most powerful force in life. And it follows that at the core of all religion and genuine spirituality is some form of love, some cultivation of the heart." So the book title is translated Kripa Sindhu, Ocean of Mercy. And of course, he was thinking of his beloved Srila Prabhupada. But I suggest that in his biography, he really arrives at the Ocean of Mercy in his own heart. While navigating into Prabhupada's ocean, he discovered his own ocean and allowed others to swim in it. The great religious reformer and saint Chaitanya in the medieval times, he came and he said that even great sages will disagree on points of philosophy. But it is the behavior of a Vaishnava that establishes the principles of religion. And what naturally flows from the heart of a Vaishnava is poetry and song.
Ujjala varana Gauravara deham Bilasati nirabadhe bhavavideham.
Art loomed large for him in many ways. I mean, to me, he was human art in motion. He was so graceful. And just to watch him walk somewhere, his gait was artistic. The way he handled objects was artistic. He was quite well known as a singer.
And he recorded over, I would say, almost a dozen albums. And all of them are just easy listening, very high caliber musicianship. We connected as musicians. I got to drum for him when he was singing, And my impression of this person, this very regal, very, as they say in Sanskrit, sattvic, or a very mode of goodness personality who didn't rush things. And in my musical collaboration with him, I felt like he brought that into his music. It wasn't rushed. It was very uplifting and soothing to the spirit. And in this day and age where everything is so fast, and also where you're trying to get people's attention through some type of gimmick, musically or artistically, he didn't need those type of tools, because just his persona and his creativity as a musical artist, I feel it was very attractive, just naturally as he was.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare.
The Kirtan movement is sacred chant, call and response chanting, specifically of sacred mantras, but also of poetry and songs written by previous saints and sages. Kirtan has become kind of mainstream practice. There are, especially in the yoga scene, there are music festivals and kirtans going on widely. And Maharaj's contribution to this, I think, is very, very important, because there is something about the mood of Sri Chaitanya, who is the leader of the Kirtan tradition, who came 500 years ago and shared the Kirtan tradition with the entire world, specifically breaking barriers between religion, cultural status, gender. Maharaj's contribution to this is bringing the mood of Sri Chaitanya and the style of Sri Chaitanya, musically, instrumentally, and emotionally, to the world through his albums, through his lifestyle, and through inspiring many of us who now are out in the world sharing Kirtan, myself included, to really bring all those elements together and share the Kirtan of Sri Chaitanya with the world. His great contribution was this series that he did called the Abhay Charan series, which was a reenactment of the life of his teacher, Srila Prabhupada, the founder of the Hare Krishna movement. And not only did he direct and film and inspire this project, but he even created the soundtrack for this series.
He was very astute and very intelligent, and he would think about how to reach people. People say it's always good when one expresses one's creativity to think out of the box. Bhakti Taru Swami didn't have a box. Or if there was a box that he was given, he sort of mutilated it. He destroyed it, he shredded it. Bhakti Taru Swami was willing to do anything to glorify Prabhupada and to further Prabhupada's desires. And therefore, nothing was off limits. Even producing a series on television, and he has no experience in that media.
Are you all right, Swami?
Yes, I think so.
I'm exhausted. I'm amazed you're not tired.
Thank you for all your help.
The Abhay Charan series is a historic overview of the life of Srila Prabhupada, and then it takes it from his birth into his coming to America and starting the Krishna consciousness revolution and spreading it around the world. I think I had been coming around to the temples and hanging around with the devotees for just a few months at that point. So working with him, it was wonderful. We would start off every day of shooting with Bhagavatam class. So you'd get class on this sacred scripture. Bhagavad Purana. And then after class, we would hold a meeting, like a staff meeting, on what was going to happen on that day, what the shooting was. I mean, I cannot overemphasize how difficult it was. He did not have a staff of professional filmmakers. He collected as many devotees as he could who had experience in filmmaking. And then he made up with the rest with people who were just willing to serve in this capacity. It was so much trial and error. There was obstacle after obstacle after obstacle, very stressful times. I never saw him blow up or explode in any way due to stress. And the fact that he was able to move this project forward and it didn't collapse is a little bit miraculous. It was his purity that kept this project afloat and brought it to completion as it was. I come from a place where the Beatles were sort of like everything to me. I was big into rock and roll. I had very long hair at the time, like really long hair. I figured I would be one of the hippies in the temple, right? Again, because I had the long hair. But he asked me to play the role of Keith Ham, who was one of Prabhupada's early disciples. Prabhupada gave him the name Kirtananda Das. And so that's like a bigger role because he was very instrumental in the early days of the Krishna consciousness movement.
He's so busy lately with his translation work.
Well, if we stop wasting time, maybe we will be able to finish by the time he comes down.
There's a point at which Keith Ham, who I played in the series, he wants to shave up. He wants to shave his head and be more like Prabhupada. So when I met Bhakti Sri Swami, he asked me about doing this role. Will you shave your head? And I don't remember what I was thinking. I think maybe I didn't think it would ever come to that. But I must have agreed on some level. I said, yeah, okay. I mean, I don't know. Maybe, probably. I don't know what I told him, but I left the door open. I didn't shut it down. And it was several months, if not a year, before it came up. And we had done Bhagavatam class, and we had our meeting. This is what's on the agenda. He's going down the shooting list, and he said, today's a very special day, because today, Bhakti Joe is going to shave up. And all the devotees went, Haribol! It was like a big, yay, he's going to commit, right? And I was sitting in the audience, and I was like, Bhakti Joe's going to what? You know, and I go, huh? It kind of, although he had brought it up to me, I was sort of blindsided at the same time, because now it was becoming real. I was shaken. And he came up to me with this big smile, and he's like, how do you feel? And I just said, preach to me, Maharaj, preach to me. I was really shaken because my identity was completely in my hair. I was like, Samson without the power. Who I was in that hair.
My hair. Why did I get so attached to you?
But he took me upstairs into a room and he talked me through it. And I don't remember a lot of specifics of what he told me about it. But I remember getting the distinct impression that it would please him a lot if I did it. And I would make a lot of spiritual advancement if I did it. And I somehow trusted him.
Okay, we're all done.
Oh my God.
When people ask me how I chose him at the time, to ask for initiation, I remember telling people only half facetiously, I said, well, if I cut my hair for him, he must be the one.
I feel great. Really do.
Looks good.
Sharana means shelter or refuge, and agati means to return, returning to the abode of the divine.
I just came back to America yesterday, and it was a long flight. You can well imagine my physical shape, but I hope that I'll be able to give you some understanding of Srila Prabhupada to deal with the topic. He taught us how to conquer death.
Guru Maharaj did mention to me that time, yes, I did this test, we are awaiting for the result, and then next thing we knew that he was hospitalized.
Because I was so intimately aware of what was going on and I could see that things were deteriorating, still, this hope against hope, I just felt like he was going to be okay.
When I'm awake, when I'm conscious, I can direct my mind, I can direct my will to think about Krishna, but I know at the time of death, I won't have that ability. That is my greatest fear, that I may not forget Krishna at that very, very critical moment of my life.
There comes a point in the life of a bhakta where his or her heart becomes so abundant of love for the divine that it can no longer be contained in a physical body. It needs other accommodations.
No one will stay here forever. The spiritual masters appear in the lives of the disciples to inspire them in the spiritual life, attract them towards the spiritual sky, and then at some point they leave.
Whatever way one happens to depart this world, it's really not important. The important thing is that the way a bhakta has lived in this world.
You can always know that someone is going to leave their bodies, and when they actually do, it's still shocking. And that was very much the case. We knew it was going to happen, and it happened, and we were shocked.
The loving times that one could spend with Bhakti Charu Swami were incalculably precious. Bhakti Charu Swami's most important contribution to this world is something that only Krishna and Guru and Srila Prabhupada can know. From my limited perspective, I just think it was his person. I think what he offered most was just his beautiful heart and his mood. Whenever he and I would get together, whenever we would embrace, it was hard to let go of him.
When Srila Prabhupada left, my world became completely empty, completely vacant. And as if there was nothing there to do. And naturally, that emptiness, causes unbearable pain. Something that my mother used to do. When I was just kind of walking, but still not quite capable of walking, she used to hide herself behind the curtain and she used to make some sound. And just to see her, just to get her, I used to just kind of walk. I felt in a similar way Srila Prabhupada actually apparently disappeared from my vision, but Prabhupada is still there, and Prabhupada is urging me to walk towards the spiritual world, following him. The platform of our union is not here. The platform of our union is in the spiritual sky.
There were a lot of tears, but at the same time, there was this knowledge that he gave me that he hasn't ceased being, but rather he has become free.
And if we are really sincere about our spiritual life, we are sincere about our love for our spiritual master, let's just try to find him where he is. And the search to find him will end us up
take us to the spiritual world.
সম্পদে বিপদে জীবনে মরণে দায় মম গেলা তুয়া ও পদ বরণে সম্পদে বিপদে জীবনে মরণে দায় মম গেলা তুয়া ও পদ বরণে মারবীরা হবি জয়ীছা তোহারা নিত্য দাস প্রতি তুয়ায় অধিকার মারবীরা হবি জয়ীছা তোহারা নিত্য দাস প্রতি তুয়ায় অধিকার মানস দেহ গেহ যো কিছু ওর পিলু তুয়া